Right. Good morning, Do Hard Things Nation.
Hey,
This
good
is
morning.
another edition of the weekly wake up. How you doing, Tom?
Doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm going to dominate the week.
Hey, of course. How can you not with that shirt on?
I know this one just feels incredibly empowering. Like I'm ready to absolutely crush it. I
Love
um I love this topic and the phrase dominate. I had my command philosophy was dominate the basics, which I absolutely stole from another commander that I had when I was in the 94th Engineer Battalion, Lieutenant Colonel Samuel Volkman. What he'd always say, dominate the basics. And it was so incredibly powerful because it's just like if you dominate the basics in life, everything else falls into place.
Yeah.
And so I completely plagiarized that, made it my own, and I've had other people take the same command philosophy. And when I think of dominating the basics, I think of the four lines of effort in your life, which is do hard things, hard. Your health and wellness, your affluence and wealth, your relationships, and then your development. How are you growing? And if you can have a handle and show up with intention in each one of those areas, you will dominate life. And too many people major in the minor things. They're dominating things that aren't making a significant impact and neglecting the little things that could. What are your thoughts on that, Tom?
I got to tell you, when we talk about dominating, the first thing that comes to my mind is my coaching efforts, where we would play a team in basketball and crush them by 40 points. We would play a team in soccer when I was coaching soccer, and we beat them by like 7-1. Or we'd play volleyball and, completely crush them 21-6. And I got to tell you, on the sidelines, our team loved it. Like my players loved it. We felt confident. We felt good. We completely dominated. We crushed the opponents. And we didn't make a big deal out of it. We just executed and won. But people didn't see the behind the scenes. And the behind the scenes was practicing every day, well above and beyond what everyone else did. It was practicing for 3 hours instead of 2 hours. It was getting the daily disciplines right. It was just harping on the guys to perform at their top level. And of course, we're going to dominate. And we did it with humility, but we had a big smile and a lot of confidence on our face. And that's the way you need to live life. Just crush everything, dominate everything, because you had a game plan, just as you described.
Absolutely. And it's a lot of people, when they want to make a major impact on something, they almost overcomplicate the plan, or they think that they have to have this really complicated strategy. But if you can just refine the key components and the basics and just focus on, like I said, just refining that jump shot, just refining the jump shot, and just doing that same movement over and over, become a perfectionist at that, and then you start perfecting other things, like it all falls into place.
Oh, yeah. Well, Jay, here's the cool thing. I slept in. I rarely ever do this. When I say slept in, I slept in for like 15 minutes. I pressed the snooze button 3 times. I'm not proud to say that. I rarely ever do that. For what reason this time around? I don't know, because I actually slept well. I'm not up to the speed that I need to be this morning. I've got my Java here. I'm talking to you. I'm feeling better. But here's the thing. I've got a list of like 7 things that I need to do after this podcast. 7 things. Dominating means I've got to check through all 7 things, be present and be focused for each of those 7 things. That's how I dominate. So people say, oh yeah, well, how do you do that? Do you just like kick ass and be a special person? No, you go through your list of important things. That's all it is. Even though I'm not up to it, even though I don't feel like it, even though I'd rather sit on my ass and do nothing, I've got to go through those 7 things on the list. That's it. That's domination. That's all it takes. Everyone can do that.
Yeah. When I think of dominating the day, it's getting up and having that morning routine. And like this morning, I'm out of town, so I'm up here in Columbia with Lacey, and got up this morning. I got my coffee brewing, so I got my caffeine. I read Start With Why by Singh, just get the mind going.
Yeah.
We took the dog for a walk and had a conversation, and then we went out in the driveway, knocked out a workout, and
wow.
Yeah. So I feel good. Like that's jump starting the day, right? Doing that before everyone else needs me. And then, looking at my planner and kind of mapping out the plan of attack for today.
Okay. So you did all of that this morning already?
Yeah. And it didn't really take that long. Like
that's awesome.
Yeah. I feel good. And That's what dominating the day is. It's the little things like that with consistency, because when I wasn't dominating the day and I felt like the day was dominating me, when I look at my habits, I would wake up, I would check in on Facebook like first thing, I would check my email. I might be getting some work calls because in the Army, the first thing you like roll out of bed and throw on the uniform and go to work and head to PT. For a few minutes, I was waking up. I was just scrolling because like kind of dreading the day. That's not dominating the day. That's getting your ass kicked right off the
pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
And when I changed that habit and I really started focusing on like, okay, how can I control? How can I go into this thing on offense versus being in reactionary mode all day?
Yeah.
It's just a different way of attacking life.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get put on defense, like you waking up this morning out of sorts. That's a kind of a defensive play, but that happens to all of us. But we got to rapidly pivot back into the offense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, big time. That's pretty cool. What else is on your mind, Jay? Because I've got some thoughts on my mind with regards to the average person. And when I say the average person, I mean a listener who doesn't necessarily want to step up or know how to step up yet. And I've got some thoughts around that.
Yeah, well, go ahead. Share your thoughts. What do you got?
Well, I think the big thing is I was listening to this thing about people wanting to avoid problems, right? I mean, to me, a problem is an opportunity to come up with a solution. And it's the people who come up with solutions to problems who are going to be the biggest game changers out in society. That's the way I see it. So it's almost the opposite of what most people do. Okay, show me a problem that I can solve, because now I'm super valuable. And if I can solve that problem, I feel good. They feel good. I might be compensated for that financially. I might not, but I'll be compensated in my heart because I'll feel really good. People so want to avoid problems. They don't realize that there's opportunities out there. That was what was on my mind today, actually.
Yeah, problem solving. I think from a leadership perspective of problem solving, like I would tell my team that if you have a problem, it's incumbent upon you to bring it up, because we can't resolve it if we don't know what's going on. But with that problem, bring a solution set along with that. Whether or not we execute on that or not, I want to know that you're thinking through and that you have thought of it. Because if you don't and you just complain about the problem without a solution, you come off as very whiny. And it's not, okay, what do you want me to do about it? Like, so what is your vision for solving this problem? And so when I think of, and problems are a constant. We all have problems to solve all the time.
Always. Yeah.
So when I think of a problem set, I like to think of like, what's the vision? What's the solution to resolving the problem?
Yeah, exactly. All right. You've got a person who doesn't necessarily feel like they're dominating right now. They used to, but they're in a bit of a slump. They never have, but they want to get charged up. What are a few things that people can do to take it to the next level and really take charge of their day? What would you recommend, Jay?
The first thing that I look at when I ask someone who doesn't feel like they're dominating the day is kind of like, okay, walk me through what your typical day looks like. And the first thing I'm going to focus on is that morning routine. It's going to be the morning routine. And a morning routine for everyone is it's going to be a little bit different, but it has to be far more than I'm going to wake up and hit the snooze button 3 or 4 times, turn on the news and, check my email and do all those things. Like that's not a morning routine. That's not anything that's serving you at all. But that's usually where I start. It's like, okay, if you want to dominate the day and take control of your life, it starts with the morning routine. Good. And in a book that I recommend for everyone that fundamentally like really changed my perception, because I've always had this predisposition that, I'm not a morning person. But that's bullshit. That's a limiting belief that you've created, because biologically as humans, we've created this like late night nocturnal routine and bad habits through watching excessive television, staying up late, and just poor sleep habits that have compounded over time. So your circadian rhythm is off. And now you have this like, well, I'm not a morning person. Well, that you're outside of biologically how we're wired, and it has to be retrained. But we can have a whole topic on that. But the bottom line is there's a great book called The Miracle Morning. Very short read, gives you 6 action steps that you can start to focus on in the morning. And when I started implementing that and basically made it my own, my whole world began to shift. And yes, it did require me to get up a little bit earlier, but in filling my own cup first, I was able to fill up everyone else's far better. Because if you wake up with an empty cup, there's nothing to draw from or pour from the rest of the day.
Yeah, I like it.
What advice do you have for someone that might be struggling?
I think it's more of a philosophy that takes a bit of time. The way I look at it is this: you think of the superheroes, think of some fiction here, like a guy like Superman. All right, who was Superman in disguise? It was Clark Kent.
Yeah.
Clark Kent is portrayed as a pretty meek dude.
Yeah.
Right? Meek, clumsy, humble guy. And all of a sudden he puts on this Superman suit. He's got his special powers. He goes out and kicks some ass and does good in the world. If you look at yourself in the mirror, you might feel kind of meek. You might feel like that Clark Kent character. All right. But there's three things you can do. Number one is you can fuel your body and you can work out and you can increase your performance over time so that you feel better about yourself. You don't need to look like Superman. Okay. But you can look and feel better with your physical activity, with your health, with your mindset. You can do that. So that's part one. Part one is putting on your suit, and that suit is happening over time with your health, with your physical and your mental health. Number two, what's Superman's superpower? What has he got? He can fly. He's got this laser vision and laser beam eye stuff. What can the average person do? They can get better in a particular skill. Okay, I could become a master in nutrition and a master in exercise. I have over 25 years with my university training and coaching people. But people can do that over the course of 2 years with their learning. You can go to any website. You can go to YouTube. You can learn a shitload of stuff and become a master in an area and get your quote unquote superpower and feel valuable out there. And then number three, what does Superman do? He goes out and he helps people out.
Absolutely.
What do you do with your skill? Same thing. And guess what happens? You start dominating. So for the person who's kind of sitting there going, shit, man, I got nothing to offer here. I don't dominate. I just kind of go through life. I just take a paycheck. You can do a lot more than that. Absolutely. By doing those three things. That's it. That's all it is. You want to reinvent yourself. You want to make, Joe 2.0. That's how you do it. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take some time, but it's worthwhile.
Absolutely.
What do you think of that?
I think it's simple. It just takes some awareness and some action. I'm going to commit to this thing. Like we live in this incredibly abundant society where knowledge is everywhere, but I think so many people are dabbling in too many things because there's so many. We're at this it's like going to a Vegas buffet. Like there's so many options. I want to try it all, and you never really, I don't know, you never really get quite good at any one thing because you're having a little bit of everything.
No, you go to the buffet, you have it all, and that later on that night you feel like shit, and you've got the shits for the next 6 hours.
Yeah. As opposed to having like one really good, like fine ragu or wagyu steak, not ragu. Wagyu steak cut. You know, that's just that one thing is so like you can enjoy it more because it's like so delicious. It's like one thing versus the whole freaking buffet that leaves you like you said, get the shits and feel like shit later. It feels good in the moment, but ultimately it leaves you unfulfilled. So that's the thing. Boiling down, what are you really good at? Like, what are your strengths? And doubling down on that and maybe exploring into that a little further. Yeah. Putting some blinders up and that's it. And then taking that skill that you have and that creative expression, that's one of the human drives is creative expression, and giving that because humans need to create and serve other humans. That's what we do. That's everyone in the tribe had a unique skill set and strength. And that's how when you do that, like, think of ye olden days. You get the blacksmith. That's what he did. You got the bread maker. That's what they did. That was and they served the community. And so we still have that. We weren't, like I said, before, we're still trying to fit in this like technological screen jungle, concrete jungle. Like we're still wired, to live in the tribes. And so that's what we need to do. And I think a lot of people are not I don't know, they're just not skilling up because they might be skilling up in video games, but that's not fulfilling. That's not like
No,
they're missing out on that creative expression and
no.
the
And
things.
you're right. And I think what ends up happening is when you get older, I think you become a little bit less willing to step out, less willing to grow, less willing to explore other options. I think of a student of mine a long time ago, Johnny. His name is Johnny Green. I'll mention his name. Johnny Green was a low academic student. And Johnny says, my dad's very successful. I'm not. I can't even pass school. I said, Johnny, here's the thing. What do you like to do? He says, I don't know. I said, you could become an electrician. You could become an electrician and you can start doing some really good work because you're a very personable guy. And then what can happen is you can get other people to work for you, and you can have something like 6 trucks and have those 6 trucks go out and service people. And you can become a millionaire entrepreneur through doing the whole electrician business. He goes, I didn't think about that. I said, do you like that kind of stuff? He says, yeah, I kind of like fixing things. He saw me with his mother 10 years later, Newmarket, Upper Canada Mall. He goes, Mr. K, you haven't changed a bit. He says, guess what happened? I go, what? He goes, 6 trucks. My mom's my accountant. He says, I did it. I'm rolling in the dough. Yeah. Like, Johnny, we talked about that. Did Johnny necessarily want to go to these appointments to do his work, his electrician work? He wanted to be an entrepreneur making money and doing good in the world. And that's exactly what he did. He had an idea. You take a person who's in a rut 40 years old, and they're like, oh, no, that my time is past. I'm stuck with my 9-to-5 job. No, you're not. You can do your 9-to-5, and then you can take up a skill afterwards, weekend courses, learn, take an apprenticeship. You can do that. That's available. And you can be better, do that as your side gig, and then eventually replace that and make shit happen for yourself and do what Johnny did. But we tend to be closed-minded. We tend to shut down. We're too old for that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of I think it's just like a tactical pitfall. You know, we create these lives where, you know, we buy the boat and we buy the truck and we put ourselves in this financial situation to where, well, now I'm just stuck in this job. I can't make that move because the fear of, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose my paycheck, or maybe I'd have to sacrifice the boat. So we just kind of sit where we're at as well. So I think there's two components to that. It's getting stuck, and then I just don't want to learn because I've created this comfortable life for myself, and I'd rather just kind of be where I'm at because at least I'm comfortable and unfamiliar with the misery that I'm in versus the hardship it's going to take for me to learn something new. But man, you can fundamentally recalibrate and change your life in a short amount of time if you're willing to roll up your sleeves and do the work.
In a very short amount of time. And now when we talk about short amount of time, we're talking about 2 years.
Yeah.
It takes about 2 years going full head of steam to totally transform. It takes about 2 years. Is somebody willing to do that? Most people aren't. So they're going to stay where they are. And as far as I'm concerned, there's very few people who own a boat and a fancy car, or 2, one for the husband, one for the wife, and maybe an ATV, who aren't in debt.
Yeah.
Okay. And they're struggling. Those are not toys. Those are liabilities. And people are usually struggling. Right. And that's a sickening feel to be in a financial strain because of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And but I suspect if you're watching us today and you're taking the time to listen to us on the podcast, then you're probably someone that is on a different trajectory than most people, because a very small percentage of people are engaged in their personal growth and development. But if you are, and you're finding yourself stuck, reach out to us, because we can get you back on track. That's our mission. And that's the mission of the Do Hard Things Nation, is to help people live, to their highest potential and help you live life on offense. So you're more focused and engaged on these things so you can live a better life and just break out of, the current mindset that might have you trapped. Because I tell you what, it is worth doing. It's not easy. It's not an easy path. But when you change your community and you're surrounded and you're doing things with other like-minded people, it becomes a hell of a lot easier. It's a lot easier. Because that's part of the tribe is moving together, sharing their wins, and you got people that you can bounce ideas off of.
Yeah. And that's why people go to, I don't know what religion this is, but people will walk into a church and they'll go into the little confessional booths. We've been to enough small towns where we've seen these little boxes, and you sit across from your the priest and you confess and you share everything, and it's very anonymous because you don't want to be exposed, and you do that, you walk out and you feel a lot better. I've never done that, but that's what people do, right? And I think somebody who might be hurting, they don't want to make that confessional and say, holy shit, my life's really shitty right now. I'm really struggling. I'm financially crippled. My marriage is not going well. I'm completely overweight. I'm struggling at home. I don't feel good about myself. I really need to make a change. Those are the people who need to have the courage to say, I need to make a change. Can you please help? And I think it's okay to do that. You go to somebody you trust, who's a pillar of strength in the community, who has integrity, and that person's going to respond back, I hear you, brother. I hear you, sister. We can do this. We can make some changes. Are you ready to make those changes with zero judgment? Because I think we've all been there. Jay, you've had some tough times. I've had some tough times, right? We still have tough times.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Right. But what we do is we shelter ourselves away from any criticism, any judgment, and then we rot away in misery. And that's not a good place to be. You could reach out and it's okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of people suffering in silence. I know I suffered in silence for a really long time. You just feeling stuck. You feel alone. You're in a leadership position, whether you're trying to lead your family or lead at work. But ultimately, what it did for me is I just felt like a steam kettle. And finally, that pressure built up so much that I boiled over and nearly tapped out. And a lot of people are doing that. And I'm like, okay, I can't live like this anymore. I cannot live like this anymore. And usually when people get sick and tired of feeling sick and tired, that's usually where the biggest change happens.
Yeah.
And that's what it took for me. It took for me nearly wanting to tap out on life to like, okay, I got to wake up. I got too many people relying on me. I can't live like this anymore.
Yeah.
I had the motorcycle. I had all the stuff. I was chasing all the wrong things.
Yep.
I wasn't skilling. I was spending too much time on bullshit and not skilling myself up and being the man and the role model that I needed to be, not only for myself, but just for my family and my community. And it took a while to recalibrate and retool. And I'm still on that journey, but I'm infinitely better than I was.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know what's neat? People often, what they do is they hear these stories about somebody being sick and tired of being sick and tired. And what they hear is the person says, enough is enough. I'm sick and tired. I'm going to make some changes and I'm going to move forward and I'm going to change everything. We hear these stories and then we see the story unfold and that person changed. What that person who was sick and tired of being sick and tired didn't say was there's usually a catalyst in the form of a trusted person to help them. They don't mention that. Like I'll tell you right now, Jay, I've had some tough times. I've struggled and I'm a pretty tough guy when it comes down to changing gears and going someplace. I don't know how many times I walk into the bedroom and I look at my wife and she's like, shit, he needs some counseling and therapy right now because he doesn't look so well. And I'm looking at her going, I need some help here. Like I'm struggling right now. Are we going to be okay? Are we going to make it through this? And I just needed that reassurance from her. And I needed to reach out to somebody and say, hey, I want to run this by you. What do you think of this? And you know what the guy usually says, or the girl or whoever I counsel with? You're going through some tough times, right? Yeah, I've been there too. But those are the catalysts that help me get through it. So if you think I'm just doing this on my own, I'm like a friggin' David Goggins kind of guy, that's not the case. I'm smart because I know who to look for help and people to lean on so I can get out of it. You can't do it alone.
Yeah. Yeah. And oftentimes it's people's own ego. Like for me, it was pride and ego that kept me from reaching out. Like I got this, right? I could do this. I'm tough. I could figure this shit out on my own. It didn't work for me. And when I finally started reaching out and found a community of people and mentors and coaches and a therapist that I could lean on and trust, and just get it out there, everything changed. It's like you said, just even talking it through just feels better. Just being able to unload, like, man, I got all these thoughts and I just like that. feels
Big
better.
time.
And then you get maybe some good advice or a different shift in perspective. And, you know, the more that I lean on people and have these conversations, the better I feel. I had a very interesting thing happen to me last week. And you saw it in our group, the Ford. I had to kind of talk through some feelings I had. And I talked to Lacey. I talked to a couple of friends that had the same situation happen. And then finally, I'm like, you know, I just kind of talk through like my thought process. Okay, my pity party is over. These are my thoughts and actions. This is what I'm going to do.
Yep.
And for accountability, I dropped it into the group, got some remarkable feedback, and I felt instantly better. And I just blessed and released that situation. And now it's good. But the old me, I mean, I'll be honest, the old me that had the same situation happen probably would have got a fifth of Jack Daniels, downed it, went home, probably laid on the couch, watched Netflix, and just had a huge pity party, and not told anyone about it. Yep. So that is a way to go about it. This is far more effective, but putting my ego aside and being open and vulnerable and all those in a safe space. I hate the term safe space these days because it sounds like woke stuff, but having a safe space where you can be yourself without judgment is powerful.
Yeah, it helps. It takes all of the tension off your body, and you're like, okay, I feel a lot better. I've communicated. The air has been lifted. Okay, now where do I go from here? Because I did the same thing. I didn't do a Jack Daniels. I just paced the room nonstop like a freak. And what am I going to do? Having a conversation with two other people, you know, it was me, myself, and I. And that was not a good conversation, right? But just chatting with somebody that you respect or trust or both, it really goes a long way. And then maybe that person will have some insight that takes you to the next level, that allows you to do a routine that's productive and get you to upgrade your skills, whether it's 6 months, a year, 2 years, and then start crushing and dominating it. You're never too old to be able to do that.
No, you're never too old. I think of Colonel Sanders, right? He didn't even start his chicken business till he was like in his late 70s and 80s.
You know what? I got to research that story. That's what I heard. And if that was the case, which I believe it was, guy had some guts. His days were quote unquote over. No, that's not the way to look at it. I mean, he's an entrepreneur. He wants to share his recipe. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It was this creative expression, right? He had the skill. He had something. He had a purpose. He was driven by it, you know, even late in life. We have to have something that drives us.
Yeah.
And
so well, it could be something as simple as this, Jay. There's a person here in Costa Rica who makes a wicked pineapple salsa. I'm like, you got to be able to mix that, get your formulation, package it, get a label on it, and sell it. You're excited about your salsa. I'm excited about your salsa. I mean, do it. That's how businesses start.
Yeah.
It seems like such a trivial thing. It's an add-on to a taco. But hey, it could become a big thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's cool, man. Now, what's the deal here? I know it's that time, isn't it?
It's that time.
Yes,
we got it.
Good.
I love this. I love this because every week we're nominated, or we have received nominations for someone that's absolutely crushing it. And so I'm excited about this week. So let me share my screen here. And okay, I'm on a different. Oh, hang on. Give me a second here.
Yeah.
I'm on a different. Hang on. Technology. This is a skill I need to develop. All right.
Yeah, I'm pissed because I would have.
All right. Can you see? All right. So this week's winner of the Do Hard Things Nation. What we need to call this something, right?
Yeah, we do.
Go crusher of the week. I don't know. We'll come up with a proper term. But the bottom line is, who you see here is Jeremiah Williams. He just completed 23 years and 11 months, 15 days, United States Army. And he's an awesome role model. Not only has he served his nation selflessly, but he's also actively actively engaged in the community. He volunteers with Team Red, White, and Blue. He's actively engaged. He's got 2 children, and he's a coach for his son's football team. He assists with his daughter's softball team, and he's a stand-up dude. When they were living here in Fort Leonard Wood, I got the pleasure to hang out with them, this family, a few times, and they're just remarkable people. And so he lives his life doing hard things. You see him and his wife out there crushing it, the Volksloff crossing the river, and he's got a remarkable family. And his wife, Crystal, nominated him for this. I'm like, that is awesome. That is just a well-deserving, just living the value, right? Being a role model, living a life, doing hard things, sacrificing, for the good of his country, and is still engaged in taking that, being a role model and active leader, not only in his household, but in the community. So Jeremiah Williams, congratulations. You're this week's winner of the Dominate shirt. Do hard things, brother. And we would love to invite you on our Wednesday night Do Hard Things community call if you get some time, and just share with us a little bit about, what drives you, what compels you to continue to serve, and how has that impacted not only you, your family, but your community. So,
yeah, congratulations, Jeremiah. I'm looking at Jeremiah here. Like that's a pillar of strength right there. There's a family dude. He's got a bunch of beautiful kids and a beautiful wife. He's doing stuff for the family. Oh, there's nothing wrong with Jeremiah. He has no challenges. He has no struggles. I bet if we talked to Jeremiah, he'd have a basket full of issues that he had to go through to become who he was. Guaranteed, without a doubt. Because right now, I mean, dude's family looks perfect, right? And of course, Jeremiah is going to get the shirt, but I guarantee you he's had some challenges that he had to overcome to make himself who he is right now. Guaranteed.
Yeah. Yeah. We all do. That's the human dynamic, is that we all have challenge, right? And, but the mission and the vision of the Do Hard Things Nation is to, live life on offense, overcome those issues, yes, and just make ourselves better so we can step up and be the role models and pillars that our society needs. And Jeremiah is an example of doing just that. So,
Jeremiah, if you are listening to this at some point, whether it's live or during the replay of this, we would love to talk to you on Wednesday night. Pick your brain, hear your story a little bit. You don't need to share a lot, just a little bit if you have that time, because we would love to talk to you and learn more about you. I think people need to learn more about you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, so that's, I guess we'll start moving toward the exit here, but for everyone listening, hey, dominate the week. If you're looking for, some inspiration and some motivation, you can go to dohardthingsnation.com. If you're not a part of the Facebook community, come join us over there. We do the weekly wake up every Monday, and we also do the weekly, just a 30-minute call, 6:30 Central Standard Time. Just a quick, motivation. It's a Zoom call, so we invite you onto the Zoom. So if you have a question and want to kind of talk to us, you got something, a burning question, or you just want to add to the conversation, we would love to hear from you. And, additionally, we've got Do Hard Things apparel. When you wear a shirt like this, I'm telling you, it's super, super human. There's no slack. I'm going to wear this shirt today proudly. I'm going to crush the week. I'm going to overcome my bullshit, and I'm going to get after it.
Yeah. Well, hold on a second. I want to talk to you about it. So there's a couple ways to get the shirt. Number one, I can nominate myself to get my shirt, and maybe you'll select me. I highly doubt it, but maybe you might. So you can nominate yourself. Yes?
Yes, we are taking nominations from self if it's a compelling vision and it's a part of the vision of the Do Hard Things Nation, right? You're getting after it. You're improving not only your health and wellness, but maybe you had a big financial win or a career, like this one here. I think of a big career milestone, maybe a relationship win, you had an anniversary of some significance, or maybe development. You've crushed some course and made some significant impact. We want to hear from you, all walks of life.
Absolutely.
These stories are compelling. You're being a role model in your community and society. That's what this is all about.
And you're being selfless, because what ends up happening too is people need to hear your story, especially if you have a compelling story. I'm not going to nominate myself because I just won't, because we're part of this podcast. But having said that, I really want that shirt. Okay. Yeah, I can either wear a Dominate shirt or a friggin' Under Armour shirt. Okay. I'd much rather wear a Dominate shirt, because it just means more. It says a lot more. Dude, with the flag?
Yeah. How can you not?
That's a no-brainer.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer. I love it.
Okay. Where can I get that from? What's the website?
Well, it's dohardthingsapparel.com, dohardthingsapparel.com. And the challenge that we're having with Tom getting his stuff is that you don't have the typical mail service in Costa Rica. Is that correct?
It's not going to get here. That's the problem.
Well, we're going to hand deliver it when we make our trip down there. So we're going to get you. We're going to get you a bunch of stuff.
Shirts, six shirts or something.
But yeah. Every week we're creating new designs. Lacey's doing a fantastic job with this, and I love it. And I love this one in particular because the word dominate just resonates.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
Part of my command philosophy that I ripped off from Colonel Volkman. That was a guy, that fantastic commander who was a marathon runner, and he'd run like it was like a sub 240 marathon. He's a guy that got after it.
Wow.
When he said that, man, I just felt it. And we need more role models and leaders that embody that. And that's what Do Hard Things Nation is all about.
Where can I get the shirt? What's the website?
DoHardThingsApparel.com. DoHardThingsApparel.com. You can also go to DoHardThingsNation.com. And we just launched that. It's got a little bit of work that needs to be done to it, but it's a start, and you got to start somewhere. So, but you can go there too. That'll take you to the Facebook page. That'll take you to the apparel page. If you want to learn more about, the Forge and the other groups and one-on-one coaching and group coaching, you can, go there. You can reach out to Tom and I directly, and we will get you set up because we're offering one-on-one coaching, group coaching. I'm currently looking for live workshops to execute, and we're going to have some events coming up. We're going to be doing some sponsorship events, but we're going to have our own event coming up here soon, both virtual and in person. So buckle up, boys and girls, because we're just getting started.
Right on.
So, all right, Tom.
Wednesday.
Yeah, man. Have a kick-ass week. We will see you Wednesday night.
We see Jeremiah.
Yeah,
I want to see Jeremiah. If he can come out, that'd be awesome.
Awesome. All right. Well, Tom, you have a kick-ass week. And for everyone else out there, do hard things.
All right. Cheers, bro. See you later.
See ya.